I think it's time for the king.
Oh, I thought I was going to say we already talked about the king, Tom Myers, but this is a different king.
Yes.
This is a self-appointed king, King Azoulay. So Too Lazy to Try did a video about him this week that kind of got my attention. Then Carl mentioned him the other day. So I thought there was a chance we were talking about him last night, and we did not. So I figured we got to talk about him today because I think we might have a new one here. I think we might have a new regular guy to follow. This King Azoulay is fascinating. I'm not usually interested in these alpha male guys.
The bro culture dudes.
Yeah, I guess John Sirasani is kind of like that, but there's more to him. He's more complex. But so like Andrew Tate and Wes Watson and those guys have never really caught my eye. But what I do love is a liar. And I know there's elements of that with Wes Watson. But I love a guy, like we all understand little lies. Like, hey, are you coming out Saturday night? No, my kid's sick. You know, like we've all done lies like that. That's totally above board.
Mm-hmm.
What I love is a guy that commits to a lie that no one from jump could ever believe.
Yeah.
Like, I love a guy that's so hyperbolic that there's no chance of you believing his story, but he just commits to it. So this is Ben Azoulay. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But he goes by King Azoulay because he's a descendant of King Solomon. So he feels he was rightful heir to that throne.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's hear a little bit about him. I know, like I said, Too Lazy to Try covered him this week. Craig asked me before the show, he goes, do you think he's at all inspired by Andrew Tate? And I said, well, I guess you only watched the clips that I sent, because if you watched the full video, you'd have seen a closing monologue about how the Tate brothers are innocent.
Yes.
So fair to say, I think I think he's somewhat inspired or influenced by the Tate brothers. So I went back a couple years. I went to one of the very early videos he posted where he kind of gives us the rundown of who he is. He introduces himself to the internet here. So I thought this would be a good place to start. It seems like there's plenty to talk about with King Azoulay over the years, but this is a good place to start where he gives us his biography, basically.
So my name is Ben Azoulay. I was born in the United States, 1990, May 8th. I'm a Taurus, very solid sign.
One of the best signs.
I got to be honest, I was born May 9th. I'm also a Taurus. He's right.
That's a top 6 sign. It's in the upper half.
He's correct.
We know what we want in life. We go out there and we get it. So my mother, we lived in Israel. And before I was born, she came through Mexico to have me here so I could have an American passport.
So you didn't live in Israel.
And
yeah, this is all very confusing.
When we arrived here and I was born,
when we arrived,
my mother didn't want to stick around because some of my family members were working with Pablo Escobar. Didn't want to have any part of it. So we went back to Israel. And we came back here when I was 3.
There's a lot of, if you have the map out, there's a lot of red lines going back and forth here.
Israel, Mexico, United States, Israel, Cuba, I guess.
I like that when his mom is venturing from Mexico to America, he kind of feels like he was part of the journey. Like she was pregnant, so he's like, we did it together.
Kindergarten, and it didn't really work out for us. My dad didn't know what he was going to do with his life. And obviously you're out of your elements. They wanted to go back to Israel, so we went back. One of the biggest...
These people can't make up their fucking mind. Imagine you're like, all right, we're going to Mexico. We're going to America. We're going to Israel. We started in Israel. Now we're back in Israel.
They keep taking their life savings and being like, fuck, let's start over.
That's an exhausting process to be like, all right, now that my numbers come in, we're starting life in America. 2 years, they're like, never mind. Let's head back to Israel.
was some of my family members were kidnapped by Pablo Escobar.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's this is where you start to see, and of course that's possible. I'm sure Pablo Escobar had a very big working staff back in the day. I'm sure he had a lot of soldiers. So maybe that's possible, but that's where you start to say, okay, that's interesting. You don't hear that a lot. That's interesting. So maybe he's got some specific stories or something about Pablo Escobar. He doesn't really. It's a very, very loose affiliation. Yet Pablo Escobar was very invested in his family. So it's interesting. He knows so much, yet so little about the affiliation with Pablo Escobar. So that's where you start to raise an eyebrow.
Yeah, you know Pablo Escobar. He spends a lot of time with people so poor, and they keep spending all their money on Israeli United States travel. He interacted with them a lot.
Well, Andy's like, we had to go back to Israel because Pablo Escobar. It's like, so Pablo Escobar was tracking down the cousins of people that were in his gang that he didn't know were in America. Like, how is he getting this deep into it?
I have no idea.
And also, they're working for him, so why are they afraid of him? It was a little confusing.
Here's the other thing. He said he moved back when he was 3, right?
Yes.
And then he was born in 1990.
Yeah.
Escobar died in 93.
Well, that they got away right in the nick of time.
But then he said he came. I don't know, something about he's in kindergarten and his family was kidnapped by him.
It might be one of those things like when Morley Safer retired, he died like a week later. When Pablo Escobar lost the rush of chasing the Azoulis, he just said, "I don't have any more fight in me."
He was just gunned down on that roof.
Yeah. He said, "Take me here." Also, the music really makes this.
I love it.
The music is showing you what a journey he's had.
I was going to see if it was going to continue before
it's the whole time. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, I love it.
Yeah.
He's the new kid.
Yeah, so it's got to be tough. You're in school and you're, thrice over the new kid, where you were here for as a baby, then you left and go to Israel, then you come back, and then you go back to Israel. You're the new kid a lot in school, so that's got to be difficult.
So it was very hard for me to make the transition. Also, the kids always laughed at me. I didn't speak the language. I wore tight clothes.
So he's back in America now.
Everybody wore tight jeans and tight shirts.
He wore tight jeans and tight shirts at 3?
I also had long hair.
No, he's 6, you asshole.
Oh, obviously I didn't understand them at the time, but when everybody were laughing.
Hold on, go back a little bit. I'm sorry, we stepped on something there. I want to hear the description of the kid that was getting picked on in school. Let's hear how he portrays himself again.
So it was very hard for me to make the transition. Also, the kids always laughed at me. I didn't speak the language. I wore tight clothes. I came from a place that everybody wore tight jeans and tight shirts. Everybody called me gay. I also had long hair.
Hold on. First of all, I happen to live with someone who has told me this story that kids are just very mean. So if a kid doesn't speak English, they're not like, oh, he's from a different country. They're just dicks about it. Mm-hmm. So that part I absolutely believe. The part I don't know that I believe is that they were like, look at how hot he is. Look at his tight jeans and beautiful flowing locks.
That means he's gay.
Didn't understand them at the time, but when everybody were laughing, I knew they were laughing at me. So ever since the age of 7,
how do you know they're calling you gay if you don't speak the language?
There's so many holes.
If you don't believe us now, if you're like, hey, Mike, you're nitpicking, wait till we hear a little more about the guy.
Yeah.
One do. And I was very good at martial arts, and I would always work out. I had a good build, right? Even as a 6-year-old kid.
Yeah. Look at that hunky 6-year-old. He's jacked.
He's not gay. He's strong.
I wouldn't fuck with this little muscle man.
This guy is awesome.
Really nicely built.
You know the guy Brock Major's entire season 2 really like, yeah, he's awesome. He's a fucking piece of shit.
I like the phrasing. I was really nicely built. Have you ever met Craig? You would know better than anyone. Have you ever met a 6-year-old where you're like, let me get Hang on to those pythons.
Yeah, just all the moms are like, this is the kid that like all the teachers fuck.
You are ripped.
You know what? You put together pretty nicely.
But
Like when Ike from South Park was on steroids.
Yeah, yes. Exactly.
it was different because fighting in Israel and fighting in the United States is different. If I had a fight in the class in Israel, they would just put us aside and then talk to us.
Oh, in your corners, boys.
Like that over here.
Yeah.
I kicked a few kids in the stomach, kicked a kid in the head. I was about, I think I was like 10 and a half or 11. And then nobody talked to me anymore. But I didn't get.
Look out for this fucking kid.
He's just spin kicking everyone's heads off.
He's jacked and he knows how to use those muscles. This is like fucking Roadhouse.
This isn't going to be good for the people that like to call us fat. Is us being like, look at all this guy.
Yeah, we just don't understand such a jacked lifestyle.
True, we don't get it. We don't get the eyeballs.
I got taken out of school, suspended for about a week.
That seems pretty light.
I know. If you're spin kicking people in the head,
Hey, take a week. Think about what you did.
yeah, it's paid time off essentially.
The other kid's in a coma because he said you were gay.
Nobody ever laughed at me again. But when I spoke English at the age of 12, it was even harder for somebody to say something. But
They did. He said we missed it there a little bit because nobody ever laughed at me again. Then when I spoke English, they said even less. It's like, well, what if they stopped saying anything? How could they have stopped saying it more when you talked English?
That's the thing though, is like the way to stop a bully is to kick him in the teeth.
You said talked English, so I can't really comment on any of this.
It sounds like this guy is the bully though at the same time. He's just
Right, he's beating the shit out of it. This is like Never Back Down. Like he's just going in.
Yeah.
It's constant fight. It's the new season of Cobra Kai where it's like, how are these fights constantly happening?
You can go back on Patreon and watch that movie.
Never Back Down. That's right.
Yeah.
People really understand things better when they get a fist in their face. They just act different.
The creed of all 10-year-olds.
Exactly.
And I continued with my martial arts skills. I went into all types of martial arts.
I just picture a kid who can't speak English going to school in a gi with a belt on, just like.
We said your shirt is gray. What are you doing?
He's just busting everyone open because they're learning colors because they're 6.
I'm not sure who the real victim is in this story because, sure, getting bullied at 10 years old, it's a traumatizing thing. It sticks with a lot of people for a lot of years. But is the correct punishment, hey, you're gay, and that kid gets his fucking block knocked off?
From Kung Fu to Muay Thai to kickboxing to Krav Maga. And I left Taekwondo. It wasn't for me because...
Yeah, you really sound like you know what it is. Taekwondo.
Right, he's an expert. Taekwondo, Krav Maga.
Kung Fu.
Get in trouble. So, and I wanted to test my limits. But as I got older, I went to different schools and I got kicked out of multiple schools because fighting was my go-to.
No one can handle this guy.
Bad about me.
Well, now here's where it really starts. If you really think about it, this is where it starts getting a little murky. So he's 10 years old.
10 and a half.
10 and a half, maybe. A little more mature.
Yeah.
He starts knocking the shit out of kids. And so everyone knows we don't mess with this guy. No one says a word to him again. Why is he still getting in all these fights?
It's like a dog that like bites a kid and now they're just addicted to it.
Everyone's like, hey, don't fuck with this kid. And then he's just beating the shit out of them.
Yeah.
They're like, hello, King. Good to see you. Your Highness. He bashes a lunch tray over their heads.
He's probably dressed up in like a glitter covered white t-shirt and everyone's like, gay as hell.
Well, the shirts were so tight. In 2000 or 1999, whatever this is, what choice did they have if you were wearing such tight clothing?
I mean, that was gay as hell. You didn't have Jinko. You didn't have Jinko jeans or trip pants. You were super gay.
It's when being gay really meant something.
Yeah.
I tell them, let's fight. If they laugh, they get punched in the face. And that kind of
put your dukes up. Now, listen, I'm a non-confrontational guy. You say, hey, let's fight, and I go, come on. I'm getting a pop to the jaw?
Yes.
That seems harsh. This is a rough and tumble school.
Do you understand how many times this guy would punch me in the face? I can't stop laughing.
Even just nervously.
Yeah, I'm just like, hey, what's up? I'm like, you just hit me?
to a great place in life because, one, I was able to show how powerful I was. Two, I could take control over the room.
That's a big thing when you're 10. You're like, how do I own this room?
How do I walk in here and just demand respect?
How do I own the room like Chris Rock and Bigger and Blacker? Like that's what I need to do as a 10-year-old.
His teacher calls him king.
Your Highness?
People then just stopped laughing at me. And then we became friends. And most of the guys that I fought with became my best friends because they wanted me to look after them.
I can imagine.
But I always fought the guys who were the bullies. In school, my friends...
I gotta be honest, this guy sounds like the top bully.
Right. He's a menace.
Someone laughs and he gives him 2 black eyes.
He's a terror. And like he's fucking ripped, according to him, so no one's gonna fuck with him. No one looks at the jacked new kid and is like, well, I gotta fuck with this guy.
Obviously, I can't speak for when he was a child, but looking at him talk right now, he is gigantic.
But he's wearing skinny jeans. So by the comics code, I have to make fun of him. Yeah, even though he looks like he could rip my head off.
Judging by his shirt he's wearing, he takes 3 dicks in the ass every week.
I had a friend that was mentally challenged. I had 2 friends that were in a wheelchair.
Oh, hold on. Go back. Listen to this motley crew. This is where it gets confusing because he's like, the kids that bullied me became my friends. Here's a list of my friends. So it's a little confusing because it's like, were these the kids bullying you? Go back a little bit. Let's hear how he sets this up again.
The language barrier is just they can't speak. They're muted.
And then we became friends. And most of the guys that I fought with became my best friends because they wanted me to look after them.
Right.
But I always fought the guys who were the bullies. In school, my friends were, I had a friend that was mentally challenged. I had 2 friends that were in a wheelchair.
Doesn't it make it sound like he's fighting and befriending the retarded kid and the kid in the wheelchair?
What I take from this is the kid in the wheelchair accidentally ran over his foot and he fucked him up.
I think he's trying to say he was protecting these kids. But the way he phrases is like, yeah, I beat the shit out of him and I became friends. Now listen to the Breakfast Club assortment of mongoloids that he's befriended here.
Because they wanted me to look after them. But I always fought the guys who were the bullies. In school, my friends were, I had a friend that was mentally challenged. I had 2 friends that were in a wheelchair. I had a friend that was a midget, and I was protecting them.
I would have been friends with this guy. It would have been like, we need one of you in our crew.
He just kicked this guy in the head and then become friends with him.
What a lunch table where it's the mentally challenged kid, the kid in the wheelchair, the midget, and the jacked, long-haired, handsome guy.
The jacked Jew.
That keeps beating the shit out of everybody.
Oh, this one's called Last Day.
Oh, so this was his last day in school where he decided, like, I can't live like this anymore. So I think he made it pretty deep into high school, but then it just got to be too much with all the ass whooping he was doing.
The principal looked at him cross.
And one day there was 5 Mexican dudes trying to jump me in the bathroom. I beat the shit out of them. I left one of them with his head in the toilet. When I left school the following day,
I gotta ask, what do the other 4 do? Well, you're giving this guy a swirly. Are the other 4 just laying on the ground? Like, why aren't they jumping in?
Taking on 5 guys and winning. Especially when he called them angry Mexicans or whatever he called them.
taking on 5 guys and winning is impressive, but as we're gonna hear later, that's nothing.
And one day, there was 5 Mexican dudes trying to jump me in the bathroom. I beat the shit out of them. I left one of them with his head in the toilet. When I left school, the following day, I came back. As I was leaving school, they came and they started shooting at me. And I started getting more violent.
Very little details on how he escaped the gunfire.
There was a firing squad. None of them touched me.
5 of them, based on the way he's telling the story, 5 of them circle him, try to beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
He takes him 5-on-1.
Yeah.
I guess if you're trained enough, that is possible, right? Is that that's possible? Maybe
like tier 1, maybe.
right. Well, you heard he's done kung fu, so he knows his stuff. So I guess he could take on 5 guys. Then they come back with weaponry. Now the 5 men the next day are granted bloodied, bruised, and still drying their hair from the swirly they got. But
he's poo dreadlocks.
yeah, but they've got weapons now. They've got guns. So let's hear how this. It sounds like he's talking to us from beyond the grave, because this is obviously where he met his demise.
That's why the music's playing this way.
Yeah.
It started getting more violent. And, if they can't beat you by hands, those 5 of them, and they had to use some other force, which was guns. So that was the last time I went back to school.
What? There's no story about if I escaped gunfire. That's all I'm talking about.
People at once?
That's all I'm talking. If 5 men are shooting at me and I'm tiptoeing through the raindrops, I'm dancing around those bullets. That's all I'm talking about. I'm giving some details.
They were like, there's that gay guy, and they started opening fire on me.
That's a militia going after him.
Yeah. It's a cadre.
Just gonna have to kill them. I don't want to hurt anybody that bad. It is what it is. It's time to get out of school. And I did.
Hey, let's call it a truce. I beat you guys up. You shot at me. Let's shake hands and walk away from this.
Anyways, those 5 guys were in my wedding party.
They're my best friends. So there's, if I'm trying to calculate this right, 5 guys jump him. They want him so bad. They circle him in the bathroom. They try to beat the shit out of him. They can't.
Right.
Next day, they're so fired up about this. They're like, get your guns, boys. We're taking this motherfucker down. He escapes that. So then the 5 guys are like, all right, 0 for 2. You know what they say? 2 strikes and you give up. Like they just stopped looking for him after that.
He also made it sound like they just started opening fire in like the hallway of the school.
Right. I imagine maybe the parking lot. It did sound like it was at the school. He's like, I returned next day to school and they opened fire on me.
I feel like this would be in the news.
One of the teachers is just like, hey, knock it off, you crazy kids. You don't want to get suspended again, do you?
Unless this was Israel, in which case the teacher would just pull him aside and be like, guys, cut it out.
No, he's back in America, I do believe. So yeah, it's a little confusing why they would just give up. They're like, we just can't beat this guy. I guess go home with our tails between our legs.
Next, we have Dad and God.
Yes, we hear about his father and his relationship with the Lord.
For me, looking back and thinking about the stories that I had with my dad, and my dad was a very tough guy. I mean, I'd wake up in the morning, with kicks to the head. My dad wasn't no martial artist.
Come on, bitch!
I wonder why he's just like, that's how he says hi in school. He just
the world's worst alarm clock.
He just question marks kicks people after math class.
All right, get up. It's not, he doesn't say like my dad would kick me in the head when I misbehaved or when she stumbled home drunk or just he would wake up and go, all right, kid, time for school. Doink.
I would love to see this.
Now, the way he describes the rest of his relationship with his father, they worked together. He respects him a great deal. He's like, my dad was the toughest guy, taught me everything I know. He would kick me in the head in the morning. He taught me carpentry. Like it's just a weird diversion. It's not this. He's not Tim McGraw in Friday Night Lights. It's just this like He was abusive in the mornings, and then once he had his coffee, he was fine.
So he's saying his dad was strict on him and taught him carpentry.
Yes.
I hope he compares himself to Jesus.
Well, in a roundabout way.
Nah, come on.
A fucking punching bag from time to time. But I could tell you that that's what toughened me up, because I'm also a tough soul. You can't really break me. You'd have to kill me. There's no way of breaking me. I'm not afraid of no man, and I'm not afraid of anybody.
And you can't even really kill him. He escaped bullets from 5 guns.
I feel like he's gonna get up and have Jimmy from South Park crutches. Like,
you can't break me. You'd have to kill me. You also can't kill me.
Only love in my heart, and it's to one piece of this world, and it's God. I'm not afraid of God either. I love God. Whenever
you hear that, God? You bitch.
You pussy.
I never heard anyone do like, hey, it's you just got to respect the Lord. And by the way, I'm not afraid of that coward. So make no mistake about it.
If you read the beginning of the Bible, the people start not listening to God and betraying him. So he kills everyone that's alive on the planet.
Well, this guy, he listens. He just don't give a fuck.
I'm just not afraid of
him. I will go gladly. There's nothing here in this world that I haven't done. I've had it all. And that's also why I'm here telling you guys all of this. This is why I'm doing this. It's because I've had it all. I've been all around the world. I've seen probably every beautiful spot in the world, every vacation, every woman.
Sounds like you just moved there.
Every kind of food.
Every woman.
Every kind of.
See, I'm not gay.
He goes, every woman I've tasted, and then he goes to food. It's like, well, you really went down there. It was. That's not as eating squid is not as impressive as fucking women around the country.
He's got like one of those sex passports.
Car. There's nothing that impresses me anymore. Today, everything that I do is for you guys. I don't do it for anybody
else. This guy
else.
is gay.
It really doesn't matter anymore. And I'm not looking for anybody to sit there and clap for me and say, great job.
Well, we're doing it anyways. Too bad. Imagine making this video and then going, I'm not looking for any applause here. I'm just telling you that I was a jacked 6-year-old who conquered English, escaped gunfire, fucked pussy around the world, went on every vacation. I'm just the man. I'm not looking for your praise, by the way. I'm going on this rant to help you.
Just name this episode Jack 6-year-old and people be like, what the fuck is this?
And I'm not looking for anybody to sit there and clap for me and say, great job, King Azoulay, you're the man. No. I'm looking for you guys to tell me, hey, King Azoulay, you helped me find the king inside of me.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Well, that's what we're all telling you. No one's laughing at you, King. We're all like, hey, you helped me find the king. That's what's douchey about inspirational people. Mm-hmm. Is like, I don't get inspiration from someone who goes, hey, just so you know, I'm about to inspire you. You know, like that, like Gary Vee and all these guys, or Tony Robbins, where they're like, hey, we're inspiring you right now. We're giving you, we're motivating you. It's like, no, just say something and maybe I'll glean motivation from it. Don't tell me you're about to inspire me.
This talks about being homeless.
Yeah, so another tough upbringing. I feel like all these guys were homeless at one time. I feel like that's what made them so great. Somehow we miss these homeless guys in the street. They're usually toothless crack addicts, but every once in a while you get a King Azoulay, living on the lam.
I bet jacked Muay Thai black belts would get a lot of money on the side of the street.
Yes, definitely.
So at the age of 17, my dad told me I had to leave the house. You know, I like.
You're just too jacked, son. Get out.
I like to talk back.
That's why his dad he just sleeps at the bottom of the stairs, this guy. That's why his dad kept kicking him in the head. He's like, son, you got to go. You're in my way all the time. I try to have a nice relationship with you, but you got to beat it.
So he's been holding a cigar this entire time. I have not seen him puff on it once.
Well, it symbolizes winning. He's a winner, so he deserves a cigar. You know,
Symbolizes Andrew Tate.
Oh. Damn. One other thing, just there's no, if you watch this, there's no real like reason his dad kicks him out of the house. He's just like, I was kind of getting too awesome. So my dad was like, you don't deserve a roof anymore. But they still work together. So dad kicks him out of the house, and then they're still partners in a business together. They're still like contractors or whatever the fuck they do.
Much of a smart ass. I'm a strong guy, but I'm also very smart.
So get out.
Very high IQ.
That's all. That's the story of all. If you go up to your local homeless guy and you're like, how'd you end up on the street? He's like, I was so sarcastic and so jacked that my father kicked me out of the house.
I feel like I'm gonna have to like shotgun a beer if he ever touches this cigar.
And to be confrontational was something that was very easy for me to do, and it was like second nature to me. So at 17, he said, you know what, you gotta get the fuck out of here. And he kicked me out of the house, and I went homeless for a little bit. But he
went homeless. Like it's a lifestyle choice.
Until I, walked into someone random. I walked up to them and I was like, give me your keys.
This is my house now.
This is my house now.
Done for me. Because as the person that I am, when I struggle and when I go through hard times, that's exactly when I grow. Under pressure.
Oh, how convenient.
I don't grow by sitting around hanging out. I need pressure. That's why I run 16 businesses worldwide, because I need the pressure. I need constantly. It's like
so he claims to be worth $500 million. There's no real evidence of that, I don't think. But
if he was worth that much money, that would be documented somewhere.
He does have. So I heard Too Lazy to Try say his videos don't get a ton of views or anything. Maybe he was talking about other podcasts he goes on, because his channel does okay. It has like almost 500,000 subscribers, and the videos do like okay. Like this had, I think, 50 or 60,000 views or something. So it's not insignificant.
Right.
Inside of me.
This is also like 2 years old or something like that.
Right. True.
And it's with that, I create something called an infinite intelligence, where I'm able to delegate hundreds of people at the same time, and I'm able to run multiple businesses at the same time while I keep myself in shape, I keep myself fit, I work on my body. So him kicking me out of the house was the best thing he could have ever done for me.
It seems like you should remain homeless to this day just to stay sharp.
Yeah.
It seems like you need this adversity.
My dad was so awesome. He just said, get out. But
there's never any explanation. It's hard to be inspired by this guy. Listen, I'd like to be jacked and worth $500 million too. Who wouldn't? But it's hard to be inspired by this guy because he just goes, yeah, so my dad making me homeless is the reason that I'm so smart. It's like, could you elaborate on that a little more? It's like, no, just being homeless. Like I work with adversity, so now I own 16 businesses and I have a lot of money and I'm really sharp. It's like, yeah, but do all homeless people have? I don't get. What do you mean? Like just because you were homeless, you became Mark Cuban? I don't understand.
That's right.
Got out. Within 3 months, I found myself.
Okay, that wasn't
good.
3 months.
That's a pretty quick turnaround. 3 months on the street, you're out. That's not a bad sentence.
My guess is he just like still went home for food.
Yeah. I don't think he was like true homeless the way we know it to be. I don't think he was sleeping in his own shit because he needed the pants he was wearing.
No, he was couch hopping, sleeping in his car. All those homeless people with vehicles. This sounds real.
Oh, I bet it does. I bet this is another real detail of his life that he is describing here.
He's ashing his cigar without smoking it right now.
Well, you don't want to. The first time he takes a hit, you don't want it to be ashy.
Something that I did leave out, and I'm not talking about, is that I had family members that were big gangsters, and I really wanted to be in that world.
Oh,
this is something he's not talking about, by the way. Here's another thing I'm not discussing. My families were massive gangsters.
And I wanted to do it.
Fighting, and people were respecting me, I then went into the world of doing underground fights. And doing underground fights was amazing for me because I fought people that were much older than me. I was 16 years old.
So now we've gone back in time. This is while he still has a home. It's before he gets kicked out of the house. He's 16 and he's fighting adults in some underground ring of illicit fighting.
And whooping all their asses, I bet.
Anytime that someone uses the phrase underground, I'm a little skeptical.
He's one of those guys that's just like, I never lost a fight.
Well, he didn't, as we're going to hear.
Oh, good.
$2,000 to $3,000 a fight. I got my ass kicked one time.
Oh, he lit it.
In my life. I was 13 years old. I got jumped by about 30 guys. Party.
I mean, the odds. He was destined to lose that one. I got to say, if you told me, and I'm not a gambler, and I'm not a fight expert by any means, but if you came to me and said, Mike, we got 30 guys versus a 13-year-old, who you taking? I'd go, I don't know. It seems like a trick question the way you're asking me, but I think I'm going to go with the 30 guys.
Like, does the 13-year-old have a weapon? No. What about the 30 guys? We don't know.
No, they're all armed and dangerous.
He's just doing cartwheels and the bullets are missing him.
They're mafia members or still work for Pablo Escobar. We're not exactly sure, but they're dangerous guys.
He's about to be like, the Born Supremacy was written after me.
Say what you want about gangsters. You don't hear a lot of stories of 30 of them circling an innocent 13-year-old and kicking the shit out of him.
No, that was usually off limits. Women and children.
Yeah, I don't know.
I purchased an Uzi. Nobody ever jumped me again.
Hold on, that's not true. So this is when he's 13. He got an Uzi, so no one ever jumped him again. Then a couple years later, when he gets kicked out of high school, it's because 5 Mexican guys jumped him. He's unarmed, and they all have guns.
Mike, do you know what kind of firearms I own?
I don't.
That's crazy because I don't understand how anyone else would know he's got one.
That's a good point.
We can't jump him. He's got an Uzi.
He is a guy that is showing it off, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know an Uzi. It doesn't sound like something that nicely lays on your belt buckle, but
It sure doesn't.
but I imagine he's the type that was showing it off if he had one.
Again.
Now, hold on. How does a 13-year-old that barely speaks English, he gets a hold of an Uzi, but his dad is beating the shit out of him and he's always in trouble at school. How does he not get caught with this thing?
That's probably why his dad's beating the shit out of him. He's coming home with like black eyes, busted lips, and guns.
You're not using them right. You're
Yeah.
not using the guns right.
Get out of my house.
But it's tough. I would tell King Azoulay, like, if you're going to be in the business of lying, you got to get him straight where you can't tell the story about the 5 Mexican guys jumping you and then shooting at you. You can't tell that before the only fight you ever lost was to 30 guys and then you got a gun and no one ever fought you again. It just doesn't line up. It's not good writing.
Mm-hmm.
Party. After that, I purchased an Uzi. Nobody ever jumped me again.
Except the guys that did.
They never said anything again. I was ready to die, and I was ready to take everybody with me.
Oh, God.
That was my mentality. So I started doing underground fights at about the age of 15.
Uzi strapped to me. That's how I won all the fights.
That's how he won. He's like, I got $2,000 to $3,000 a night. He's just robbing the people betting.
I imagine if this is an underground fight league of some kind, I can imagine a lot of the competitors are older than 15.
I would imagine.
So that's pretty impressive that at the age of 15, he was whooping ass at the level he claims and making $2,000-$3,000 a pop on all these fights.
He was wearing a really tight gay shirt. Don't forget.
Oh, I'm sure that made them so furious.
I'll take him out. Next, we have the mob. I'm going to hate this one.
Yeah, you probably are. Let's just hear it.
The way it started, I was at a hookah bar. And there was a group of guys.
The mob was always hanging out.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, also important to remember, he's our age. He's a year older than me.
Yeah.
I don't remember, like,
Younger than me.
Hey, Mike, you want to go to a hookah bar? I don't know. Is it mobbed up? You think we'll be safe?
And I used to look at people to see if they're looking at me. I thought everybody was against me. So I got into it with some of these guys, and I ended up beating the fuck out of 6 of them. They were all older than me.
Like, this guy just goes to 7-Eleven to get a goddamn ginger ale, walks out with bloody knuckles, and like 5 people are on the ground.
It's an action movie. It's like everywhere this guy goes, there's a group of skilled fighters, but not that skilled, ready to take him on.
Fake tough guys, I guess.
But why is he fighting them and taking them all out here? Did he explain that?
Because it sounds like he provoked them, because he's like, I go in there, I stare at everyone because I assume they're out to get me. Anyways, I beat them up.
They're out to get me. So I kick the shit out of them. I slam one's face off the bar.
I was at a hookah bar, and there was a group of guys, and I used to look at people to see if they're looking at me. I thought everybody was against me. So I got into it with some of these guys, and I ended up beating the fuck out of 6 of them.
Again, he's the bad guy here.
He's been the bad guy in the only thing that's almost redeeming. The only thing that he said is like his motley crew of misfit toys that are his friends.
Yeah, but it seemed like he had to beat them up in order to earn their trust.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get jumped into every gang.
Sure, I understand.
The guy pulls out a gun and tells me to stop.
But guns don't stop me.
I forgot I had my Uzi.
Yeah, again, he said no one ever jumped him again after he purchased that Uzi. This is the second time he's been jumped by a large group of men.
I like how he said he kicked the fuck out of all of them, but one of them pulled out a gun and told him to stop. So it sounds like he kind of was on the wrong end of this one.
And kind of let him go for a little while where they're like, all right, let's keep this fair for a few rounds. Let's see if he can beat the shit out of all 6 of us. Then I'll pull out my gun if things get ugly.
Yeah, because the mob before cameras wouldn't just kill anyone right there on the spot.
No.
I'm gonna say, shoot me. That was the time my mom got cancer. I wanted to die. And he goes,
it's funny to you?
Like, of course. Of course that's what happened.
Yeah, so the guy pulls out the gun. He points it at our friend King here. And King says, shoot me. And the guy's like, I wanted a challenge. I didn't want you to be in on it. I'm not going to shoot you. Swipe or no swiping,
I'm not going to shoot you. What's your name? And I said, what the fuck are you to ask me my name? I said, shoot me. He said, no. I want you to be one of us.
You got balls, kid. So I told him my name was William Costigan Jr.
I was a Boston cop.
And we got in a conversation, and when he found out I was 15, he was shocked.
But you're so masculine.
Because I'm so jacked and my shirt's so tight.
You're so hot and sexy and strong.
In this video, he does look like he's wearing like a 5th grader shirt.
Well, they're not going to dictate how he dresses. That's what he overcame. He's like, I'm going to wear this shirt forever now.
I'm not going to mention his name, but we're talking somebody from the mob. And I started.
Fine, it's John Gotti.
Yeah.
So I started doing underground fights for him.
Yeah, that's what the mob does.
By the way, if it was in a hookah bar, like, I feel like this mob is just the group of people that call me and try to scam me for money.
I know that I keep resetting this, but I just want to give everyone the right visual here. So King Azoulay's in a bar. He's mean mugging everyone. They go, hey, you got a fucking problem? He goes, I got a fucking problem. He starts beating the shit out of these 6 guys. One of them pulls out a gun. He says, we can't take this guy with our fists. We need weaponry. Pulls out a gun. King Azoulay says, shoot me. He says, I ain't going to shoot you. I want to hire you. And then if I'm King Azoulay, I'm like, well, why'd you pull out the gun?
Because
I was already handling myself pretty well here.
That's how the mob works. Oh, God damn it. I hate this guy.
You've proven yourself to us.
That's how it is. You're not Italian, you're in.
Yeah, no, perfect. We were looking for an Israeli guy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention his name, but we're talking somebody from the mob. And I started doing underground fights for him. I also was his bodyguard.
It'd be great if Sammy the Bull does an episode where he's like, "Oh, King Azoulay, great guy.
We're just like, fuck, everything he said was true.
He beat the shit out of 5 of my friends, but I knew to hire him."
That would be unbelievable. He's gone away.
Sammy the Bull, he still does stuff.
I saw a video get posted, but I'm pretty sure it was from like 3 years ago.
Oh, interesting. I thought I saw him live recently.
Oh, I don't know. I miss him.
Yeah, I think he was live recently. It was funny to hear him read super chats.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He gets fooled by everyone's name.
And then it was a time that I felt very powerful.
You should. You're godlike.
He said that like 3 times this whole video.
If all this is true, he should feel extremely powerful.
He really should. Now, this is our last video. It's him talking about women.
Let's hear how he's mastered the art of seduction.
His name was Vito Spatafor. That's very funny.
Because back in the day, men were men. So the woman didn't need to do anything. Also, men, when they wanted a woman, they like went to her father and said, "Hey, I'd like to ask for your daughter's hand." And they promised to stay with the woman and they gave her the world. And now you men just want to have fun and, you know, take some girl's virginity and be done with her within a week.
What?
I gotta tell you, before the show, Craig was like, "This is the one that's true. This clip is what is absolutely true." Craig's always hunting virgins that he can discard in a week.
I do find it funny that he's like, he went from being like, "I've tasted every woman from every country," to "This is terrible behavior."
He's so far off, and this is what I'm talking. Where he's like, "This is a guy who's trying to be an influencer. Where we look, a loser is like us, a fat loser like me, as I've been called.
Mm-hmm.
I should look at him and be like, how does he do it?" But he's so far off on what people want, where he's like, "Men now are just hunting virgins." It's like, what year do you think this is? If I met a virgin my age, I'd be like, what's wrong? Like, are you religious? It's very weird.
I think that would probably be the only explanation.
Really. Or it's something you don't want to find out about, most likely.
Right.
A woman that's a virgin, I'm going to marry her before even sleeping with her. My problem is that there's too many idiot men out there that play too many women, and these women, they just want to find love. They're being hopelessly romantic because a woman wants love. She doesn't need sex.
So you can tell he's a player.
She doesn't need to come, only me.
So I buy the virgins. What King Azoulay? I like the cut of his jib. You guys let me know, because I think this might be one to follow going forward. He's a very interesting character, and like I said, I'm curious to find out more of his lies, because Too Lazy to Try laid out that there's a plethora.
Go to blindmike.net for everything Blind Mike. Look at me. I did it. Kragers did it.